This is Join Us in France, episode 59. Hello, I'm Annie, and today I have the pleasure to bring to you Cynthia Caughey, an American who is married to a Frenchman, lives in the French Alps part-time, and who chats with me about the tours she created in the French Alps and Provence. Her tours are action-packed and will take you to both bucolic and famous places in the French Alps while keeping you comfortable and very well fed. We haven't talked about the French Alps on the show yet, and this is an area I plan on visiting myself next month, so I'm excited to learn about the area. Also, wonderful news, starting next week, Elise will be back on the show as a regular guest. Hopefully, she'll be able to do this once a month. Next week, I'll release an episode Elise and I recorded late 2014 about 3 places in the Basque Country: Saint-Jean-de-Luz, the village of Espelette, and Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. That episode was preempted by the Charlie Hebdo events, but I'm happy to bring it to you next week. A major reason Elise had to cut down on coming on the show is that preparing the show takes a lot of time and work. Neither of us are independently wealthy, and just like you, we have to work, pay our bills. Giving our time away for free is not always an option. So I want to again appeal for donations and support. Maybe you've been on tours that were so nice you gave your guide a tip at the end of the tour. Well, we'd love it if you would do the same for us. Be a patron of the podcast. There's a donate button on the site. There's also a support the show page. Please consider donating. Thank you. Now, let's talk about the French Alps with Cynthia Caughey of French Alps and Provence Tours.com. Hello, Cynthia. How nice to talk to you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Annie, for inviting me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
Very, very welcome. I have so much to learn about this area. I'm really happy to have found somebody who knows it as well as you do.
Well, it's a pleasure for me because the French Alps, before I moved to France, I had no idea about what was available there. And once I did understand that, I had to share it with the rest of the world by starting these tours because when people think Alps, they think Swiss Alps, and they don't understand that the French Alps are at least as beautiful and in some ways more beautiful. I mean, for instance, Chamonix and the Auguille du Midi is in France, not Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. Barely, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And is it actually easy to go from one side to the other?
There's a tunnel, and there's actually also trains that go over, but I've not done that, so I'm not sure how that works.
Okay. Well, we're already deep into the subject. We actually deep into the subject we're talking about the tunnel already. No, but to begin with, maybe you should tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell us how all of this happened. Where are you from to begin with?
Okay. I'm American. I was in Los Angeles for 30 years, although my home state is Florida. Uh-huh. And I had a home and a thriving business in Los Angeles, and I was doing just fine. Uh-huh. And then every year I'm a bit of an Italian Italy fanatic, so every year I was going back to Italy, and I started adding on some other countries to that because I felt like I was getting into a rut. And so one of the countries I eventually added on to my Italy trip was France, and I went to Provence. Uh-huh. And that's where I met my husband, and that changed all the direction of my life dramatically.
Wow. That sounds really good. See, you're the second American who lives in France who tells us it's the man who did it.
Yes, it's always a man.
That's great. And so, what types of services do you offer, and what's special about it?
Well, first of all, the first thing that's special is the fact that nobody else is doing this tour. Nobody else does a sightseeing, summertime, English-speaking tour of the French Alps. There is one other individual who does it, but she does it for women only. So unless you're a woman, you can't attend. There is no other way to do the French Alps. So as a sightseeing, there's plenty of sports: biking, hiking, mountain climbing, snowshoeing and skiing, all that. There's thousands of tours like that. But if you just want to see the beauty of the French Alps without too much exertion or getting too cold, then we are it. So we
Uh-huh.
yeah, so that, but we don't take advantage of that fact. We make the tour exceptional. The reviews we've gotten from our guests have been just over the top,
Uh-huh.
because they love our not only our itinerary, but we also do special things like we have private chefs at our chalet lodge. We go to Michelin star restaurant.
Mm.
We eat local products. We go to stores that are only owned by local families or locally,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't take kickbacks. We don't take commissions. This is strictly about supporting. We believe in sustainable tourism, and so this is about supporting the local communities that are our communities too. Because both of myself and my British partner Paul, we've lived in the French Alps for years, and so it's not a tourist destination for us. It's home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it brings a different perspective to
Mm-hmm.
the tours. We also have insider information that somebody who doesn't live there won't have.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's actually a lot of work to find out, you know, details about these
yes,
tiny places,
that's right.
because a lot of these, I suppose, are not very highly populated.
No, we
Yeah.
do, we do some of the main things like Chamonix and that kind of thing because you have to when I mean, those are some of the highlights. But we
Sure.
also do like the Col d'Azan, where we go up to the top of these beautiful pasture mountains and where it's still green and the cows with the bells and the wildflowers. And and we visit several fromageries and we eat at one with the fresh cheese and the fresh cured hams. And
Mm.
yeah, and the views are stunning.
Well,
And the
that
ship,
sounds tiring. Do you hoof it?
no, we'll do these vans. We have small vans,
Ah.
8 people each.
Uh-huh.
You don't do these huge, you can't, where we go, you can't take these huge coach buses.
Right.
And not only that, we maximize the number of people on our tours at 16.
Mm. So you might have
So
two vans.
yeah, that's
And
exactly
those are usually tours that last how long?
8 days.
Okay.
Eight
Wow.
days. Yeah.
And do people have some time to like acclimate how do you say that? S'acclimatiser. Get over the jet lag is what I mean.
Ah, well, we ask that people fly in the night before the
Uh-huh.
tour starts so that they can get a good night's sleep and get oriented.
Yeah.
Because we pick people up at 9 in the morning, 9 or 10 in the morning at their hotels or the airport if they decide to fly in that late.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we start the tour immediately. We start at stopping at Yvois on the Lake Geneva.
Say
We
the
go
name again?
Yvois. It's
Okay.
a little medieval town on Lake Geneva.
Okay.
It's absolutely stunning.
Uh-huh.
And then we do a little ride through Geneva so they get a feel of the city.
Yeah.
And then we head straight to the mountains.
Wow. That sounds
Yeah,
like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it is. We enjoy it.
So
We enjoy doing it.
do you lead the tours yourself?
I have been. It depends on what's going on in my life because
Mm-hmm.
I live half time in France, half time in Florida now.
Ah.
Because I also have a business in Florida. So, but I have been leading it, and I hope to start leading it again. I missed 1 year, so now I'm hoping to get back to it this summer. I'm going to be starting back in the summers in France. So
And so if it's not you, who is it going to be Paul?
it's
Your
my tour director partner tour. He's also the tour operator. He owns his own tour companies. This is just a partnership that we do. He
Mm-hmm.
does mostly winter sports tours, but
Ah.
he's been leading and owning tours for 25 years.
Oh wow.
He is a tour director extraordinaire. He is he just people rave about him. I mean, they like me too, but I mean, he
Sure.
is just extraordinary. So
And he enjoys the local culture and food and all that.
oh yeah, he lives there. He's been living there for in the French Alps for 10 years.
So what's on you? I mean, I don't know how much time you've spent in the rest of France. When I think about the food from the Alps, I think of fondue.
Mm,
I think of wines.
right.
What else? What else?
The cured hams are some of the best in the
Ah,
world. The potato dishes, like the tartiflette or
Oh, tartiflette, of
yeah,
course, of
yes.
course, of course. Well, we have
Um,
to describe what that is. Maybe some listeners wouldn't know what that is.
it's sliced potatoes put
Mm-hmm.
into a baking dish and covered in with some cured hams typically, and with some cream and seasonings like salt and pepper, and then you melt this beautiful ring of Roblechon cheese on top of it.
Yes.
And that is made in the region where we stay. So the Roblechon cheese is like a staple there, and
Yeah.
we do eat and taste quite a bit of that. Um,
Yeah, it's a really nice cheese. I don't know if you ever have it like without melting it. I mean,
yes,
yes, okay. You can have it just slice and just
sure,
enjoy it with bread or something.
sure,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Those are
um,
the types of cheeses that I always have them melted. You just
right.
when I have it, I melt it because it's really good.
Yeah, it really is good. No, all of it's good. I'm biased, but I've tasted a lot of cheese in France, and I would have to say that Savoie makes the best cheeses in
Mm,
France.
mm.
I love the stuff. They have the toms, and they have the no, it goes on and on. I could talk
Yeah,
all day.
les tomes. Yeah, tom is a generic word for
Right.
a cheese. Usually, in my mind anyway, it's a goat cheese. Is that
No, that
correct? It's a
not.
cow cheese there.
Yeah, in Savoie, it's a cow cheese.
Yeah, and it could be that I'm just remembering wrong.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about having a private chef.
We have at the lodge that we typically stay at, the Chalet Lodge. It's in the mountains, and you have got beautiful mountain views. And typically, we have the lodge all to ourselves during our tours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a private chef who works at the chalet, and he does these beautiful dinners that are to die for. With sometimes we'll pick some berries and we'll bring them home, and he'll make a blueberry sauce over duck that night. Or I
Oh
mean,
wow.
we're talking beautiful, beautiful meals and desserts. And if the children are a little picky, then we can make some adjustments if we need to for a child's meal. Typically, we don't have a lot of children on these tours because of the nature of the tour, but we
Uh-huh.
can manage it if that's the case.
Yeah. So you mostly
And
get couples, I suppose?
yes. Well,
Yeah.
no, we have a lot of singles too,
You have
singles and
singles too.
couples.
Okay. Okay.
And everybody by end of the tour, everybody's a family. They stay in touch. They have, everybody loves each other. They're just having a great time and really building because it's small, it's so small. People really get to know each other. We have
Mm-hmm.
people from the States, but we also have Australians, New Zealanders. We even had a private tour. Have half of those individuals were from Hong Kong. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So
But your tours are all in English.
yes.
You never
Yeah.
do tours like that for French people.
No, because the French people, for the most part, do their own thing in France. They know France. They know this. They know it. They know how to speak the language. So they manage to just do it on their own. So
Yeah, yeah. So sorry, when you talk about Ivoire, I I hadn't caught the name, but okay, so this is a medieval village.
right.
Does it have like what does it look like?
It's just your typical beautiful little village on the lake, and
Uh-huh.
it has ancient historic buildings, but they've kept it up so that it's actually quite a tourist town now.
Ah.
It's just flowers and
Oh wow.
beautiful parks and views of the lake, and they've lots of ferries that go from Geneva
Mm-hmm.
to Ivoire. So
So do you stay in Ivoire?
no, it's just a few hours. It's an
A
afternoon
few
stop
hours.
we make. Yeah,
Right, and then you go to Col des Aravis.
up in that area, yes.
Okay, all right. And you, because you mentioned wildflowers, do you do this in the spring and summer or just summer?
We do June and September. So in June, you'll see the wildflowers and the cows grazing, and
Uh-huh.
then also because we also have a combination French Alps and Provence tour, which
Aha.
also is the only tour of its kind in existence.
Uh-huh.
Um, And
So does that is
but
like a 10-day tour or 12-day tour?
it's 8 days, but you'd be
Okay.
surprised how we can manage it. And it's not rushed, it's not too much, it's not too little, it doesn't mean getting up at 7 in the morning. We just don't do that to people.
Oh, that's
Um,
very nice
yeah,
because whoa.
yes, no,
I mean, when you jet lagged, I don't know if most of the listeners have experienced this, but when you jet lagged coming from America, you're going to be waking up. Your body's going to want to wake up at 2 p.m.
right, right,
Uh, that's you'll sleep really well, like 8 a.m. through 2 p.m. And the rest, you can go to bed at a reasonable time, but you're just not going to sleep very well.
yes,
Um, so
yes,
yeah, it's very rude. I
yeah,
think if I were to do a tour like that, I would actually come 2 days early, just to
yes,
get some sleep and get over the, I don't know, jet lag. And I don't do
right.
well with jet lag.
No, I don't either. And so we're sensitive to that because we do
Yeah,
understand our issues. So our tours, we don't usually get on the road until 8:30 or 9, depending on the day. And
right.
we usually get back by 6, giving you time to get ready for dinner, take a shower or whatever for dinner at 7 or 7:30.
Hmm.
And so it's not a brutal kind of tour. And yet,
Oh,
you
I
know what
like
I
that.
mean?
It's not brutal.
It's
You
just
should
not
put that
brutal.
on your posters. Come on our tours. It's not brutal.
Right, exactly. Because I have done those tours and I don't want to travel that way. So I can imagine most people don't. So we kind of liken it to our tour, kind of likening it to savoring a fine wine.
Uh,
You take it in, you take it all in, but you take time to enjoy it and experience it and reflect.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so at the same time, if you looked at our itinerary, you would go, oh my gosh, look at everything on that itinerary. But we've been able to adjust it to a point where you get to do it and see it, but you're not feeling rushed all the time.
Well, for
So,
one thing, you're not like lost half of the time because you're looking for your way.
right.
I mean, your guide will take you straight to the interesting bits.
Exactly.
So that makes that saves a lot of time, because if
Yes, it
I
does.
if I was to drive up there myself and try and take this tour, well, it might take me a good many hours before I find the perfect, beautiful, the loveliest spot there.
Well, actually, the French Alps would probably take you a few months to find that. So we've just had to learn it as we were going. My husband's French and he's from that area. He's lived there for 15 years. So
Yeah.
I found it quickly because of him.
Aha.
Although I found things that he didn't even know about. So it really is about living there and doing your research well.
Mm-hmm.
But so that what I was saying about June was that in Provence, that's the beginning of lavender season. So
It is,
that's
yes.
why, yeah. So then we see that in the Provence. But during September, it's a different emphasis. We have the autumn colors, which in the French Alps are absolutely stunning. So that's the other that so that there's it depends on what you want to see and what you want to do and what you want the weather to look like and those kinds of things. Depending on this year, normally we have a lot of people for June. This year we've had more interest in September. So it's different.
So do you offer like I guess if you do 8 days, you could offer 3 tours in the month of June and 3 tours in the month of September?
We could, and we would like to go that route. So right now we're just doing the 2 tours. We're doing we don't advertise, we don't market, we do it by word of mouth, we do it by a website, and mostly we are the number one tour for our keywords: French Alps tours, French Alps of Provence tours. We pretty much are the first thing that comes up on Google.
Right.
On those 2 tours. So we haven't really had to do much advertising.
Yeah.
Or marketing.
Which is
But
really good.
no, it is good. But I'm starting to launch a campaign, and it could increase our tours by, we may add more tours in the future.
Sure. Well, that sounds good. So I'm looking through your itinerary. So you're at Challes-les-Aravis, and you're going to be visiting a pottery store.
Right.
Very nice.
Family owned.
And hiking. So do people go on little side hikes? Is there time for that?
Not really. The
Mm.
the hike we have taken when we have the time, we try to do a little hike on the pastures of the Col d'Azan.
Mm-hmm.
We've been successful in doing that a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have time, if people want to spend more time eating or they want to go visit historic chalets, or then we really that's the nice thing about being a small tour. You have some flexibility. People,
Mm-hmm.
if everybody's going, no, let's do this instead of this, then we can adjust.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
so so
Yeah.
we don't, and also because some of our folks are a little bit older, they don't, the mountain hikes are kind of, they're not like the local, United States hikes. It's a different animal. So
Yeah.
you have to be in pretty good shape to manage the Alps
Uh-huh.
hikes.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So,
because usually they're not as developed. They're not,
right.
you're not gonna have like a cemented trail all the way up.
No, you're not going to, no, and you are going to be going up. That's the thing about the Alps.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
there's no flats.
Right. And so the day after that, you go to Chamonix, or do you say
Yeah.
Chamonix
It,
locally?
locally you say Chamonix.
Chamonix. Well, it's totally possible. Yeah. Okay, so Chamonix, I'm gonna try to adapt. The next day you go to Chamonix, Aiguille du Midi.
Right?
Oh, you get on the cable car.
We go to the top.
How fun!
That is fun. People mention that as the one of the highlights of the tour. So,
Uh-huh. So what's it like?
well, you're up 13,000 feet for one thing, so
Yes.
you're definitely going to be getting hit with some wind. So you have to dress appropriately. But
Uh-huh.
the views are just out of this world. The ride up, first of all, you take two cable cars because it's too long away for one cable car,
All right.
and you take two cable cars up. The views are stunning. The majestic sense of it is overwhelming, really. Just to see yourself that high up is,
Yeah.
and there are people who've gone on the tour and said, "Oh, I can't do this. I have a fear of heights." And I said, "I have a fear of heights too, but
Yeah.
I will hold your hand and we will go up this thing. I trust me, you will like this and you will not regret it." And I have literally held people's hands on their way up, and they
Oh,
get up there and they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad you talked me into this. This is unbelievable." So
yeah.
it is just beautiful. In the afternoon, we do the Mer de Glace, which is the train ride up to the glacier,
Oh.
and you can go into their little caved out cave that they have light show and things like that in the Mer de Glace if you want. Kids
Uh-huh.
kids love this day. Kids love this day.
Yeah, it's a fun one for the kids.
Yep.
I
Yep.
remember my
So
mother telling me about when she was young going to Mer de Glace. I don't think I've ever been. I'm See, I need to go on this tour myself
there
now.
you go.
Another tour I need to go on. Oh no, I'm gonna need a lot more vacation.
Well, I'll tell you, we have a special for a private tour of 7 people.
Hmm.
The eighth person organizer gets half off
Oh well, there
their
you go.
tour, and for a private tour of 14 people, the 15th person who does the organizing gets the free tour.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I should invite a bunch of friends then.
There you go. There you go.
That's very good. Um, so, Chamonix, Aiguille du Midi, and then the Mer de Glace, and then the next day you go to Annecy.
Right. Annecy, visit the historic center, which is just lovely. It's on Lake Annecy, and everybody enjoys that. We have lunch there. And
Mm-hmm.
then we go to Fier Gorges, which is really interesting. There's a little cliff hanging, or I don't want to say cliff hanging, gorge hanging walkway, walkway that you can walk all the way along the gorge. And it's really beautiful to see the water below you and the formations in the stones. And it's quite dramatic, quite nice.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We stop at the French Resistance Museum, which is very interesting because you can go in and see all the history, see the people who fought in the French Resistance, photos and stories, and it's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a boat
But
ride.
it's probably a small museum, right?
Yes, it's very small.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
very small.
it won't take you 6 hours.
No. You can get in and out within an hour.
Oh, very good. Very good. My kind of museum.
Yes, exactly. But it gives a lot of insight
Oh, sure.
in fact the Americans say we didn't really learn this history. We learned our history. in the Second World War. We didn't
Hmm.
know the French history.
Yeah.
And so it's quite insightful for them. They walk away going, huh, okay, now I get it.
Well,
So
it's one of the beauties of traveling actually is that you get to see the world from other people's point of view.
that's exactly right.
Which is always really enriching and enlightening. I mean, last summer we visited Quebec for the first time for me anyway, from my daughter and husband too. I don't think he had been either, and we went to a big museum in Montreal. I'm not going to remember the name right now, but it's a museum that has to do with the history of Quebec. And I was shocked that I had never learned any of it. You know, a
Mm,
lot of the names were familiar because these were mostly French kings doing things, sending people, doing this and that. But I hadn't learned this history, and it was really good for me to see this different perspective. So I think that's one of the nicest things about visiting a foreign country is that
exactly.
you get to walk in their shoes for a little bit, and it opens your mind.
Exactly.
And anyway, so I think that's very cool.
Yeah. So we try to get in the history, the culture, the traditions, into this tour so that people are experiencing real France, not tourist France.
Yeah, yeah,
And that makes a big difference, I think.
yeah. And then you
Um,
go on a boat ride, it looks like.
yeah, we take a boat ride on Lake Annecy to Talloires, which is a very ancient little village with I believe it's 1400s monastery that's been turned into a very exclusive hotel.
Mm. And is that where
So
you stay?
no, we just visit the town
Mm-hmm.
before heading back up to the mountains.
So
But we
you're probably not trying to make your tour super expensive.
Oh no, our tour is very affordable. If you compare other tours, 8-day tours or 6-day tours, which is what we mostly compete with, well, first of all, there's nobody doing what we are doing, so
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. But if you look at, say, Provence tours, the Provence tours are $1,000 to $2,000 more than our tours. Our
Mm.
tours, depending on the exchange rate, of course, our tours are 2,600 euros,
Mm.
which is nothing
Mm-hmm.
for what, and we're offering more than everybody else is offering too.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we're the only ones doing like things like Michelin star restaurants. So it's really
So it's 2,600 euros is for the whole 8 days,
yep,
not your travel, I assume.
no airfare, but
Right.
yeah,
But then it includes all your meals and all that?
includes all but about 3 lunches.
Oh, wow.
That's yeah, and it includes the Michelin star restaurant. It even includes most of the time it includes for you with your dinners some wine with your dinner.
Mm-hmm. So like all your tickets to get up the cable car, the
Yes,
boat,
everything.
all of that, you take care of all that.
That's right. We also do wine tastings, cheese tastings, ham tastings, nut oil tastings,
Mm.
um, et cetera, et cetera. I'm leaving out some, and that's all included as well.
Wow. No, that's really good. That's really good because it adds up. I mean, you
Yes,
know,
yes, it does.
if you've ever traveled, you know, every time you have to open your wallet, it's gonna hurt a little bit.
That's right. That's right.
So it's good to know in advance what you're gonna be paying, and that's that. I mean, if you have to add 3 lunches, okay, well, a lunch
And
in
with
France, you know, it's like
you know,
12 to 15 euros
exactly,
is what it is
exactly.
typically. I
That's
mean,
right.
I doubt it's that much different over there.
Yeah, no, it's the same. Yeah, we can get if you take the menu, it's very affordable.
Right, right. But yeah, if you want foie gras at every meal, then it's more. You know, if you want
Yeah,
champagne, it's more.
exactly.
You know, but yeah.
Yeah. So,
So the next day you go to, oof, and here's another one with a Z at the end. I'm just going to say it wrong. Chanaz?
Chanaz. That's right.
Chanaz. Okay. All right. So you do say the Z in this one.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's just depends on the local dialect,
I
really.
know.
So,
I know. Okay.
that's on Lake Bourget, which is over by Chambery and Aix-les-Bains. So, It's reason we go to Chanaz is because it has an old grinding mill from the 1700s, nut mill, and they still use it. They grind the nuts and they give you a little lecture and they let you taste the oils. You can buy the products from
Mm.
yeah, it's really nice. And then we also take a 20-minute drive up to another region that we do wine tasting at Chateau Lucey.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also visit the Hautecombe Abbey, which is on Lake Bourget. It's a
Oh, wow.
historic abbey. The last king of Italy was buried there, and that's what it's known for. But it's quite beautiful abbey and church.
Hmm.
So
That sounds like a fun day to me. I love nut oils. I just
yeah,
love
I do
them.
too. Oh, and I forgot on the way over to Lake Bourget, we stop at chocolate taste and do
Ooh.
chocolate tasting too. So
Wow. That
yeah.
sounds good. That sounds really good. So the next day you go to Lyon.
Yes, we have this is the French Alps tours, which we do mostly primarily as a private tour. This is we go to Lyon and Vienne and Chambery and the Funicular to Touvet those last 2 days. If you want to do the French Alps and Provence combination tour, then we skip Lyon, Vienne, Chambery, and Funicular, and we head down to Provence, and
Aha.
we do Châteauneuf-du-Pape wine tasting, which is
Very
virtually the
nice.
best wine
Yeah.
in France. Avignon, Nimes, Pont du Gard, Saint-Remy Market, French Market, the Senanque Abbey for the lavender fields, Gorges,
Aha.
Roussillon, Beau de Provence. So we
So you
take
do
it.
the, I mean, those are all typical things that you would see in Provence anyway, but those are lovely. I mean, all of them.
Yes,
Ooh, Carrière de Lumière. So you take people to Well, of course, if you go to Provence, you take them to Carrière des Lumières.
yes, yes,
That is fabulous. I have to tell
yes.
you, I have been a few times. Every time I think, oh, is it worth it? Parking there is like awful in the summer, anyway.
Right, right.
And but every time, my daughter really really wants to go every time, so we just go, and it's every time it's a different experience. I just love it, even if I don't
Yes.
know who the artists are that they're doing the exhibit. So I'll let you describe what it's like, because obviously I'm talking, people don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, basically, it's an art exhibit. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
at its core, it's an ancient, I mean, not ancient, but it's an old abandoned granite mine. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if mine is the correct word.
Well,
Um,
it's actually a clay. Well, not a clay, it's like a chalk. It's this very white stone,
yeah,
and it's super chalky.
yeah, you're right. To me, it looks like marble, but of course it's not.
No, it's not
Uh,
marble. It's soft. It's a soft stone. And when you come out of there, if you have black clothing, you'll be white.
right, right, right. It's like going to Roussillon. If you walk any of the trails, you're going to come out with red feet.
Yeah.
But and so they project these beautiful um, artist
Yeah.
images on these huge, massive chunks of squares of chalk, and
Mhm.
it's just stunning.
Yeah, it's a huge quarry that they excavated on the hillside. So they just dug this hole going into the mountain. So the above you is mountain, all around you is mountain, but they just dug this hole and they excavated big, big blocks of this chalky stone type of thing. And what's left is pillars in the center to, of course, hold up the top. And it is just, I mean, by itself, walking around is interesting, but the show is like maybe 20-30 minutes. They turn on all these lights. They have projectors every which way. Each uh, each um, each wall is going to show something slightly different. It is just so all around you. You're looking around and you see just beautiful colors. I have lots of pictures of that. Actually, I had a great time trying to take pictures. So I'll put some on the website. I'll do a slideshow on the
Oh,
website.
good. That would be great. I'd like to see it too.
Yeah.
You've done it more than I have because this is a new addition to our tour. We just started doing it this
Mm.
last summer, and so I've only been in briefly in it, and because I was handling other issues outside with the tour guests,
Ah.
but so I didn't get the full feel for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But when
And
you go, it's just magical.
Yeah.
It is truly something that you can never forget, because it's a unique experience. I mean, when you describe it to people, it's a light and sound show, right? That's what it
Right.
is.
Right. Right.
But oh, it is done so well, and the way they put the slides together, because what they do is they cut out parts of a piece of art, and they kind of mesh them together and bring them in and out of focus and move them around the walls. And these walls are massive. I mean, they're like, the above you, you have probably 60 feet. The ceiling is 60 feet higher. It's huge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's very dramatic. It's
yeah,
very
it's dramatic and beautiful. You
and
must do it.
it's why we added it to the tour, because
Yeah.
we knew it was something that people would truly enjoy. In fact, we always ask for feedback after the tours, and that was one of the things that people pointed out when they talked about their favorite days. So
Yeah.
it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, and I will say that we have friends who came with us, American friends who came with us last time, and they couldn't park at the rather small parking lots that they have close to the carrière, and they parked way down, and they said, "Oh goodness, hoofing it up there was just awful in the heat, and it's a narrow road, and you have cars, they're not zooming down and up and down because it's not the kind of road where you can zoom
Right.
anyway. But anyway, it's a little bit scary. So having somebody drop you off in the
Exactly.
van would be worth some money to me.
Exactly. And that's what we do.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, excellent.
So the other thing that we do that day is Arles, which everybody loves because of the Roman ruins. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Do you ever have like arranged to go to a concert in there? I mean, maybe it wouldn't work out because it depends on the day you go.
Well, it does depend on the day we go. We always check to see if there's something special going on that we could attend, but so far it hasn't. The days have not coincided with the concerts that were in Arles. So we're always on the lookout.
And you have to know that on concert days they will close down the arène, so you can't go in because they're
Right.
doing sound checks and
Right.
all of that stuff all day. And
Right, that's true. So
yeah,
you
you're out of
couldn't
luck
see
if
it.
you happen to be
Right.
on concert night. And they have huge names coming to. It's one of the huge arenas where big rock stars come. So
Well, we're heading down that way. Besides taking the guests down, my husband and I are heading down that way to do more research for the tours, and so we're Arles I know pretty well because I've been there numerous times, but we're going to check out to see if we can find some other interesting little insider areas, things that we haven't caught so far, and getting their schedule and
there's a nice little bamboo forest over there.
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
I can't remember the name of it. I've been taken to it. It's a really lovely walk. It's like an hour walk around these all types of varieties of bamboo, and I can't remember the name of it. If I find it, in the meantime, I'll put it on the website.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So anyway, that's the Provence side of things. If the combination tour, if you just want to do the French Alps, then yes, we go from the last couple of days. We do a visit to Lyon and Vienne. And Lyon, we see the historic center, the cathedral, the basilica on the hill.
So, okay, I have to ask you a question because I'm going to Lyon soon, and I have never been to Lyon in my life, not even in the airport. And I would I've heard all these things about the gastronomy of Lyon. But other than Quenelle de Lyon, I cannot come up with anything that's like. Do you know very much about the gastronomy that's typical of Lyon?
They have, of course, wouldn't you know, I'm the one I know about is the dessert.
But I'm interested in that too.
There is, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but you'll see it everywhere. It's a pastry that has pink pralines in it.
Pink pralines?
Pink pralines, chunks of pink pralines in it. And it's big old pastry just filled with pink pralines. And it's quite yummy.
Oh, wow. Okay, I will watch out for that. I might even catch the name.
Yeah, it'll come to me, but it'll probably be too late.
Yeah, it's okay. People can Google that, right? big fat pastry with
That's
pink
right.
pralines in it from Lyon.
That's
Come
right.
on,
There you
people,
go.
Google it.
Exactly. That's what comes to mind initially, but they do
Okay.
have other things.
Oh,
But
I mean, Lyon is supposed to
oh yeah.
be like a major center for gastronomy in all of France. So people who know their stuff say, well, you haven't lived until you've eaten in Lyon. So that's what
Right.
I'm told. But so
Yeah,
clearly I haven't lived. But
there's tons of Michelin star restaurants there. So,
yeah,
there's no shortage of great restaurants.
yeah, yeah,
And just Googling Lyon Michelin star will get you a
yeah,
whole lot of restaurants.
yeah.
And of course, some of the great chefs are there.
Mm-hmm.
And but we focus on, of course, we always look for good restaurants to eat, but we focus on, when we're visiting Lyon, we focus on the history and the buildings. Oh, and the Traboules. The Traboules are these secret passageways that run throughout Lyon that most people don't, first of all, don't know they exist. And secondly, they wouldn't know how to find them if they did know they existed. And so we know how to find them. So we take folks through several of the passageways that are these, because some of them are open, some are closed and private, but there's hundreds of them.
So you're calling them what? Traboules?
Traboules.
Can you spell that?
Traboules. And of course, my French accent's horrible. So
Traboules.
there you go. Well, now I haven't heard okay, but good. So there's basically secret passageways,
Okay.
and
Cool.
and they're in the historic centers mostly of
Mm-hmm.
Lyon. And there's some of them are quite beautiful.
Hmm.
And so it's the history is interesting. They were actually used by the French resistance to hide from the Gestapo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they like by passages, you mean like tunnels or something?
They're passageways between buildings and streets.
Yeah.
And they originally were built in around the 1600s as ways of transporting the silk. Silk that was made in Lyon. That was the center of Lyon back then. That was their main industry, was silk. And so they would transport these silk material through these passageways to keep them out of the weather and the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then over time, they were used for other things. They built apartments in them, around them, and then they also started being used by the French resistance during the Second World War. So they have a history with all kinds of interesting little points of interest. So
very cool.
So we do that. We do the cathedral. We do the basilica. And, historic center. We have lunch, and then in the afternoon we visit Vienne, which is also lovely because of the Roman ruins. You've got the temples and many, many Roman ruins in Vienne. But you also have, and the arena as well, but you also have this magnificent Roman Galileo museum. And it's got floor mosaics that are just unbelievable. And outside of the museum, which is typical, it really is part of the museum, is an excavated Roman city. So you can walk and from point to point, the baths here, Roman rich person house here, the fountain here, the wine storage place here. So you can just see how an entire Roman city was laid out.
Very nice.
It's right on the river. So it's very worth seeing. So that's
and that's the last day, right?
The last day, second to last day. The last day is Chambery, which is a cute little town. It's actually the capital of Savoie, and it's actually my husband's and my home, and so we know it well. And it's famous for its trompe-l'oeil paintings on the building walls.
Yes.
And a trompe-l'oeil is a trick. It means trick of the eye, and it's basically painting that looks like real life, realism. And so we visit some of the better trompe-l'oeil paintings and have lunch. see that there is a museum if there's time to see the museum if you want. There's a fantastic cathedral that's all trompe l'oeil. The
Mm.
most trompe l'oeil in
The
it given.
the whole cathedral is like that?
Yes, it's a whole
Wow.
side is completely trompe l'oeil. It's the most amount of trompe l'oeil in one spot of anywhere in Europe.
Mm.
So that's interesting.
Mm.
And then after lunch, we go take the funicular to Touvet up the mountain to watch the parasailers jump off the cliff with their parasails. And the funicular is a fantastic ride up. The views are.
Uh-huh.
It's the second steepest funicular in Europe, so it's really
Wow.
quite exciting to go up the mountain.
I don't know if I'd be willing to go on that, even if I'm holding your hand.
No, it's really not scary at all. People who thought they would be scared, they're not scared at all. It's really not that kind of a ride. It's
Well,
very.
funicular is usually kind of like slow anyway.
Yeah, it is. It is slow, and it's
Yeah.
protected by forests, and so that you don't feel exposed. So it's quite calm.
And so,
But
your Michelin star restaurant, is it like a 2-star, 3-star? What? How?
it's a well, it has been a 1-star. I have to check because this year it might have gone up to a 2-star, but I have to check. It's been for the last few years. It's been 1-star.
Uh-huh. Well, let me
But they.
tell you, just 1-star is already quite
Oh yeah.
spectacular. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even just you're treated like kings and queens,
Mm-hmm.
and the wine lists are fantastic. You get not only do you get your like 6-course meal, but in between your six courses, you get these palate cleansers, which are like little courses in and of themselves, and then you have this magnificent dessert,
Mm-hmm.
and so no, it's fantastic. It's a wonderful experience.
So do they
And
usually, I mean, usually French restaurants, I don't know if this is true of 1-star restaurants, but usually in a French restaurant, if you show up with a big group of 16 people or whatever, they would suggest, either menu 1 or menu 2. You can't do everything à la carte.
right, we do
Right.
the menus. You have
Okay.
choices within the menu, but we do the menu.
Mm-hmm. That makes
And
sense.
this is the one meal on the tour that does not include wine because everybody has a different taste in wine. So, but
And
you
they
can certainly,
probably get pretty expensive.
yes, they can. They can. They have some reasonable ones, but they can get expensive. So if you really want to splurge, you're welcome to do that. But it's not something it's not part of the tour package. Although we've had people just, say, let's get 3 bottles and we all just pull our money and do it that way. So it just depends on the group.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like you take good care of your travelers.
We do. I mean, we pride ourselves on that. And being American and being British, we have this strong sense of customer service that's been,
Yeah.
beat into us from childhood. and so we really bring that with us on this because customer service is different in every country.
Sure.
And so Americans are used to American customer service. So that's what we try to do. And
So what do you do if it's bad weather on a tour day? Do you just keep going? You keep plugging right along?
Well, that's the beauty of a small tour is we check the weather every night before going to bed and we see what's going to happen in the area we're planning to be in. And if the weather looks bad that day, we change the tour day. We say, okay, tomorrow we're going to go to Lyon instead of Chamonix because the weather's good in Lyon, not so good in Chamonix. And so we just we adapt, we adjust.
And give us an idea of the distances between all these places. How long will you be in the car, pretty much?
On the French Alps tours, you will never be in the car more than 2 hours at a time, and typically less than 1 hour. But now, if you're going down to Provence, there is a 4.5-hour drive from the French Alps to Annecy.
Well, yeah, you gotta get there.
Provence, and so, but we can make a couple stops. We stop, have a picnic lunch on the way down, and then we stop at Châteauneuf-du-Pape for wine tasting. So it's broken up. We stop bathroom stops, and so it's not so bad actually. And then we do the tour day, and then we go to the hotel, and you have plenty of time that evening to unpack and have dinner, and so.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, and in Provence, even our travel time is typically less than an hour and a half.
That's cool. Okay, so when I first talked to you, you told me the cutest story about how you met your husband.
Oh,
And you're gonna have to tell us because, we want to know.
okay.
It's a really
Okay.
good
Yeah.
story.
This is, yeah, how it all began, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was minding my own business in Los Angeles with a thriving consulting business, and I got to France on my vacation, my annual vacation to Europe, and I got on it from Naples, a plane to Nice, and I got off and I got on a train in Nice, and about and I don't know, half hour, an hour into it, I saw these two men get on the train and sit across from me. It was the seats were facing each other,
Right.
and he started staring at me, and then I started staring at him because he's quite good looking. I'm a very fortunate woman. And there was all this electricity, and so I couldn't stand it anymore, and I said, "Can you speak English?" "No." "Okay. Can you speak Italian?" "No." And then he goes, "Do you speak German?" "No." "Do you speak French?" "No." Okay. So we stared at each other for the next hour and a half, and I got to Avignon, and I pulled out my hotel information, looked at it, and then he got off, I got off, we waved goodbye, and that was it. And I said, "Oh, opportunity missed. Oh well."
Yeah.
So I went to my hotel, and about, I think it was the third day, I was sitting eating breakfast, and I looked up, and there he was standing there with a armful of English language books. and and I'm like, okay, and then, what is this about? And he was able to get out in English an invitation to spend the day with him.
Oh, wow.
So we spent the day going, communicating by looking in the dictionary and English books and visiting Avignon. And we actually and then we spent the next 5 days together.
Oh, wow. So you
He
hit it off quite well.
Yes, and he had actually studied several years of English in high school, so it was starting to come back to him, and so we were doing much better at
Yeah.
communicating
Yeah.
as the days went on, and we did, wine tasting tours, and we just had this fantastic time, and we just fell in love. I
And
mean, that was,
how old were you at the time?
I
Were you like
was,
teenagers or what?
oh, no, 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 no. I was 46 years old,
Oh, wow.
and he was 44.
Wow. So,
And there you go. So it's
yeah.
never too late. And this, by the way, is my first marriage.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, you
Um,
took your time and you picked well. Good for you.
that's right. And so we just fell in love, and I asked him, "How did you find me?" And he said, "Well, when you were getting off the train, I saw you pull out your hotel information. I saw the name of the hotel."
Mm-hmm.
And so he went back to Chambery and went camping with his guy friends, and he couldn't stop thinking about me for, I don't know, a day and a half or something. He kept talking about me, and he was, in another world. And they finally said, "Oh, just go get on the train, go back to Avignon, and if you find her, we'll buy you a red Ferrari." Of course, we did not get that red Ferrari, but whatever. And so he came back, and he just hung around all day at my hotel
Oh,
for
wow.
2 days.
Now, that could have been creepy, mind you.
Yes, I'm an American. The first thing that came into
Yes.
my mind was a stalker.
Yeah.
But then I thought, oh wait, I'm in France. I'm okay.
Well, yeah, in France, I mean, it's not that like French men do this all the time, but
No,
it's I think it would be considered flattering
yes,
by most women, especially if the guy is not pushy. Like if he's
right,
just
and he wasn't.
right, if he's just looking and talking, well, all right, that's.
No, he was very respectful,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he did press me for anything. I mean, there was no.
yeah.
He was a very gentle, tender person. So I didn't feel any sense of concern.
That's
Um,
great.
yes.
And then he
So,
proceeded to teach you French, right?
well, I have a little bit of a hearing issue, so I really struggle with languages.
Ah,
Like Italian, I can speak it quite well, or I could until I started focusing on French. But comprehension is very difficult for me. So I have the same experience with French. I have ability to speak it, but comprehension is extremely difficult for me. So my French has remained fairly primitive.
mm-hmm.
So because the problem with being able to speak it and not understand it is you start speaking it and people start just flying at you with fluent French and
That's right.
a million miles a minute, and you're lost by the third sentence. So it's if people slow down for me, I can do better. But it really don't. French don't really speak slowly. So
Well,
no,
the ones who understand the language barrier and how that works might, but many people in France have never been outside of France, and
right.
so they've never been faced with a person who didn't understand them, so they've never had to adjust to that. So
Exactly.
it depends on who you talk to, really.
Well, and the other thing I learned is what you learn in a class setting, French, is not what's spoken on the street.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, it is kind of similar, but it's at a different the way the flow goes and all of that. I mean, I think what's wrong with most language instruction in general is that you never understand the rhythm of the language.
Right.
Because
right.
you said something about, you have a little bit of a hearing issue. Well, guess what? Learning language is really the biggest part of it, I think, is listen, repeat,
Right.
imitate. It's like songs. You just imitate. And if you can fake it, then the grammar will come and then the vocabulary will come. You won't have to, worry about anything really.
Right.
So
yeah, so it's been very challenging. It's been my biggest frustration, really.
But your husband's
frankly.
English got better?
Oh, he's fluent. He's completely
fluent. You're beyond the dictionary now.
Right. And my two French stepchildren are completely fluent.
Oh, that's great.
So, and if in fact, one of the fiancée she's fluent too. So I'm lucky.
That's great. That's great because it doesn't happen all that often. French people are not commonly fluent at English. I mean, it happens obviously, but not.
Well, I think I had a lot to do with it living with them for 4 years. The children,
of course,
use their English constantly, and because when I first arrived, they had studied for 4 or 5 years French, and they couldn't put the sentence together. So, it's really about using it, and
and talking.
All right.
So. Well, we've been talking for almost an hour.
Uh-oh.
No, it's good. It's good. But you do have to tell us before we end this how people can get a hold of you. Tell us maybe your website or find you on Facebook or Twitter or both or email or whatever. So tell us all.
Well, the email is FrenchAlpsTours@yahoo.com.
Okay.
The website is French Alps and Provence Tours.com.
Okay.
And you can, if you can't remember any of that or you didn't write it down, all you have to do is Google French Alps and Provence Tours or French Alps Tours, and we'll be in the first few listings on Google.
Wow, very good. And also you can also go to joinusinfrance.com and I'll put a link. If you're used to the way I organize the website, you'll find it easily there too, because I'll give you a few links.
Wonderful.
So there you go.
Well, I thank you, and I thank your listeners, and I really enjoyed it, and thank you for inviting me.
You are very welcome. I'm looking forward to my trip to Lyon, and I think I'm going to try and visit some of these places you mentioned, because it'd be fun, I think, for me to discover something completely new. So.
Wonderful.
You've inspired me.
Good.
I'll be one of these French travelers who's trying to do it alone and going, oh my goodness, I'm lost.
Well, you can always put together a tour and then come free. So you're good.
Well, thank you very much, Cynthia.
Thank you.
And enjoy your wonderful tours in Provence.
Thank you. And good luck with your podcast.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This brings us to the end of another episode of the Join Us in France Travel podcast. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful time preparing your trip to France. And remember, if you want to talk back, I love to hear from listeners. You can ask questions on joinusinfrance.com or follow me on Twitter at Paris Podcast or search for Join Us in France Travel Podcast on either Facebook or Google+. And if you're old school like me, you can also email Annie@joinusinfrance.com. I want to thank listeners who support the podcast by going to joinusinfrance.com/support. By doing that, you can help us earn a sales commission from retail giant Amazon. So before you buy anything on Amazon, go to joinusinfrance.com/Amazon, click on your country flag, make your purchases in the usual way, and then we earn a small commission because we sent you there. It doesn't cost you a penny more, and so it's a really good win-win situation. But remember, first you have to go to joinusinfrance.com/Amazon. Thank you. Talk to you soon.